all the time in the world during quarantine, and you still haven't found the motivation to work on your car. You must just be a lazy failure. Not quite. But first, this video is not sponsored, and it is brought to you by my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join, click the link below. Thank you to those who have. Just so you know where I'm coming from, I really dislike motivational speakers. In fact, the second they get up and give their what seems like a pyramid scheme pitch, I am completely turned off. I no longer want to know what they have to say. But a lot of people eat it up. Now, that's not to say they're wrong all the time. Some of these people actually have pretty good advice, and you can glean some insight from what they have to say. But a lot like astrology, what they're saying doesn't really mean anything except that you internalized it and made it mean something. I am fearful of upcoming events. But if you look at all the times you've actually had a motivational speaker come and speak to you or pitch to you, you'll realize one thing. There's money involved. They're either selling you a book, a class, or your business, your company, is hiring a motivational speaker to try to get that little jolt out of you to feel like, yes, you can, because they realize that the setting that they've actually created in the business has terrible morale. For example, I used to work for a company that was an established business. They made a product that's seen on shelves all over the country. But they fancied themselves as having a startup culture, which basically just means that they're going to overwork you, make you work extra hours for virtually no payoff. But you get to work in a cool building with a ping pong table. The ping pong table, it's a trap. See, the thing that makes startup culture work is the fact that most of the people who were involved early on have a stake in the company. So you might be getting paid less than market value while you work more hours, but if the company does well and sells, you end up making a return on your time investment. Big companies are all about cost cutting, so they see that extra work that these little startups get out of their workers and how motivated they are to actually create the product, that they try to emulate that feeling, except without any of the payoff. When the product you've been working on goes live, you don't see a cut of it. You just get a pat on the back and maybe like one of those paper awards that says, "You're a go-getter." So while they transformed our office into this startup-y looking playground, they also hired this HR vice president, but they didn't call him the vice president of HR. They called him the vice president of people. And this guy became my worst nightmare. He might as well have sat in his garage looking at books with a black Gallardo behind him. Yeah, it's a pretty nice car. I like driving it through the Blue Hills. But you know what really unlocks the secret to wealth? They put monitors all over the building. And usually on these monitors, it might show a success story. We sold a bunch of this product. Good job, guys. Cool, informative. Or hey, we're having tater tots for lunch. Not bad. But when this guy came aboard, he started putting up motivational memes. Every day had a theme. Mindful Monday, Gratitude Tuesday, Thoughtful Thursday. Now don't get me wrong, I have no issue with mindfulness, thoughtfulness, gratitude. These are all really good things. But there's a difference between feeling gratitude because you have a great place to sleep, you've got food on the table, your family is healthy, and a company demanding, you know what, you should be fucking grateful that you're here. Work more. This is gonna come around to cars in a minute, I promise. What really locked in my disdain for this guy though was I was standing at the coffee machine, getting a cup, and he said, getting some go juice. The guy almost ruined coffee for me. Don't ruin coffee for me, it's all I have. So let's talk about what does motivate us, because this crap does not motivate me. And by all means, if that stuff really gets you going, like, embrace it. Do the thing. I have no problem with that. But if it just makes you feel really good for like a day and then it's totally gone, then like you just got sold snake oil. It's just like, hey, this essential oil is gonna remove your wrinkles. And for 3 weeks, you're like, man, this stuff is great, this stuff is great. And then 3 months goes by and you're like, nothing actually changed. I did feel good for a bit though. You see, for me, I have a lot of anxiety. I've struggled with depression over the years, and that's not a poor me statement. It's like everybody in America. So it can be tempting to just look at someone's success story and be like, they've got nice cars, they've got a yacht, they've got a house, all this stuff, and be like, well, they must be right, and their stuff tells me that I should listen to them. But that's really not the case. A lot of times that's just fabricated. It's an illusion. It's there to sell you the product. The motivation is not really the product. It's the book, it's the class, it's the extra productivity for like the week push that your company needs to do to make the quarter. Maybe you've got a project car in the basement that's just been sitting there for a decade and you need to get it done. 32 years. But the task just seems so daunting. It's like you go down there to just turn a wrench and then it just overwhelms you and you're like, oh my God, like, you know what? Just installing this brake pad is not even gonna make a dent in this. Why am I even gonna do it? But the reality is it does. It's like everything you do is inch by inch and step by step. The only thing that gets me out of bed in the morning is the idea that I'm going to get to drink coffee. But it's enough. It's enough to get me to put my feet on the floor and walk downstairs. I had an FCP Eurobox sitting in my garage for like 3 weeks, and it just had a bunch of oil and some little loose parts for the M5 and the M3. And it took me that much time to be able to say, you know what, I gotta get the car up on ramps, I gotta drain the oil, I gotta put it in. Partially because I wasn't driving the car, but the other side was just, I was procrastinating. I wasn't motivated to do it. And it was a beautiful day, and I finally just found like just the hint of passion, just the tiniest bit to say, you know what, I gotta go do this. It's not a daunting task, it's just an oil change. And I acted on it. And had I not acted on it, it would have gone another week. Like, act on that. That's all you get sometimes. You get that tiny baby spark, that minute little, I can't believe that's all I'm getting, but it's just that little bit to get it done. You've gotta just embrace the spark. The first thing you need to do is simplify the task. Filming this YouTube channel should be routine. It should seem like, oh, you do this twice a week. You just know exactly what you're doing. Just go do the thing. It's a formula. But I never really had a solid formula. And it was daunting because a lot of times I would film a car and the car's amazing. It's something that I've always wanted to drive. It's something that I really want to showcase and I want to make it look as good as possible. And then it just totally ruins it because you get demotivated. You're like, well, what's even the point? Because if I'm not gonna get this camera angle, I shouldn't even do it. I shouldn't even film it. If I'm not gonna get the follow shot with somebody in an SUV and a camera hanging out of a sunroof and a helicopter and a drone, it's not even worth it. And the complexity just becomes completely demotivating. But if I simplify the message and the only thing I need to answer is what it's like to drive an air-cooled 911, it becomes so much easier. Being accountable to other people helps me a lot too, because if there's a team or someone who's relying on the thing that I need to get done, then I'll do it. I don't like letting people down, which is why when you have your own projects, they just slip and slip and slip forever. You have to kind of consider yourself your own team and try not to let yourself down. Seriously, what is my hair right now? This is it, this is all I got. And set deadlines for yourself. You can break the deadline. It's okay if you don't meet it. But if you have a deadline in mind and you're like, ooh, this needs to get done in a few days, you might start prioritizing it. And don't beat yourself up for failing. A lot of people try to get into running, or they'd like to be able to run, but they're like, I could never do that. I could never run a marathon. But the reality is, running is very easy. Pretty much all of us can run. It's just a matter of how far you can run or how long you can run. But that's it, like, that's the thing. I mean, if you think that running equals running 1, 2, 3, or 4 miles at a time, then yeah, maybe you'll never start if you're overweight and out of shape. But if you consider running like, hey, I'm gonna go for a walk and I'm gonna try running as long as I possibly can, and then I'm gonna walk, and then I'm gonna run again, and then I'm gonna walk, and then I'm gonna run again, and then I'm gonna walk. Like, that's how you start stuff. You know, some people are really good at stuff. There are people that jump in a car and are just pretty miraculous with a stick shift or on a racetrack, and they just take a little bit of training to hone their skills, but they're good at it. Most people are not. That's just not a thing. And if you think you're just gonna be good at something, you didn't try it, well, that's your fault. So if it feels like you're wasting your quarantine, sitting around procrastinating some of the things that you could be doing around the house, or even achieving your fitness goals, but instead you're just eating chocolate, that's okay. It's not too late though to just simplify and execute. And if you get the tiniest spark, like the tiniest spark, act on it. That's sometimes all you're gonna get. But please use jack stands, be safe, make sure if you're doing anything in your garage, like somebody knows you're there and they can check on you. Like oh my God, people dying in their garages with cars falling on them during quarantine is like a fucking nightmare. So get down to the garage, turn the nut, wash the car, vacuum the carpets, like just find the one thing that you've been putting off and do it piece by piece. It doesn't matter if you get the whole thing done, just get one step. It'll kind of waterfall from there. And if you're like me and those motivational guys are just like super cringy, then yeah, they are. But it's okay. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It just means that they're gross, money-grubbing bastards, and they've created a cult of pyramid scheme-loving followers who will do anything they're told if it makes them feel good inside, even if they're just taking their money. On that happy note, thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I will see you in the next one. Yeah.